You've got Bill Skarsgård in an action-packed martial arts film produced by Sam Raimi. Sounds like a recipe for perfection, but sometimes recipes can leave a bitter taste in your mouth. Let's get into it. Hello there, Clapperheads, and welcome to a brand new edition of ClapperCorns. I am Nick Dorian. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Lionsgate film Boy Kills World. In essence, Boy Kills World tells a very simple story. A boy who's essentially been trained by a martial arts master from a young age with one purpose: to avenge his family's murder. Again, sounds simple enough, and sometimes the most simple stories are the most effective one. However, this feels like it's been very misguided and didn't really understand what kind of tone of film they wanted to go for. Now, the one thing I failed to mention was the fact that this boy is mute and deaf, and he hears this voice in his head which has come from a video game that he used to love playing as a kid, which is voiced by H. Jon Benjamin, an iconic voice from Bob's Burgers as well as Archer. Now, when the trailer first came out, it looked and sounded like a very interesting concept. You've got Bill Skarsgård kicking butt in a violent, action-packed film, and on top of that, you've got H. Jon Benjamin, the voice of Bob's Burgers, doing a narration as the voice of his head. And it did work in the trailer. It looked like a lot of fun and a very interesting concept, but in the reality of things, the film felt like it was too much of a good thing. And what I mean by that is at times it started to become a bit jarring. It works well in short form, but in long form, not quite. While it's fun and entertaining at the beginning of things, after a while it feels a bit jarring, like it doesn't really fit. I think it's because we know what Bill Skarsgård sounds like, we know what H. Jon Benjamin sounds like, and somehow the picture doesn't match the voice. And on top of that, I feel like they didn't go far enough with the comedy that you couldn't really tell whether they were trying to go for a more comedic tone or a more dramatic, action-packed tone. Like, for instance, you've got a massive dramatic action moment, and then they input a bit of comedy into it, and somehow it just doesn't gel. And on top of that, the film leaves you with more questions than answers, and there's a lot of plot holes in between. What happened to this certain character? How did they meet? Why does this character not understand each other but this one does? There's a lot of things that will leave you going, wait, hold on a sec, this doesn't seem right. And coming back to the voice in his head, at moments it actually genuinely feels like somebody's done a bad commentary over the film. He's pointing out things we already know, that we can read the facial expressions, we don't need to be explained what's going on in his mind. If anything, and I feel this is a massive disservice to H. Jon Benjamin, but I feel like the film could have done without him. It's almost like we are being spoon-fed what Boy is feeling instead of letting us understand him and connect to him even more. That's what makes it even worse. It becomes a huge disconnect from the audience to Boy. As soon as you are getting a grip and emotionally connecting to Boy, you get taken out of it by this voiceover. But with all these negatives aside, it's not to say this is an outright terrible film. There are some positives to the negatives. There are some great, fantastic action fight sequences in this, which utilizes multiple different fighting styles. You've got elements of Taekwondo, Muay Thai, boxing, and with the inclusion of Yayan Rurian, you of course definitely have the element of Silat. You've got multiple Southeast Asian martial arts coming to the big screen, and it's wonderful to see these techniques, and Bill Skarsgård does a fantastic job of bringing those elements to life. Undoubtedly, with Yayan brought into the picture, you are going to have a great martial arts film. We've seen it with his skills in films like The Raid, and it is brought again to the screen in this. If anything, Boy Kills World really shines in those elements when they're fighting and with the massive gratuitous violence that's at play here. It is so wonderfully violent. So if you're not a fan of blood and violence, you may be a bit squeamish with this film, but if you are guaranteed to have an amazing ride with this one. And bringing back to Bill Skarsgård, he truly carries this film on his back. His weeks of training in the martial arts and building up his body has truly paid off, because in those sequences you can't take his eyes off him. But not only that, with his facial cues and not even saying a word, you are just glued and drawn to him as an actor. At the end of the day, Boy Kills World is still a very fun and entertaining ride filled with a massive amount of gratuitous violence, but it just feels like it lacks the depth and the structure, and it didn't delve deep enough into the story of it. While it does redeem itself a little bit in the third act, the first 2 acts is a bit slow and you're questioning a lot, which lets the whole film down. So do yourself a favor, Boy Kills World is available on digital and rental on VOD. Let me know your thoughts, and for those of you who appreciate a massively violent film such as this, let me know your comments. I really want to know, because did the pros outweigh the cons for you, or did you also feel like you wanted more of a story along with all the violence? And as always, you can check us out on all social media. It's all on the screen at the moment: Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube. Go and follow and subscribe to those channels for more updates. Thank you so much again for watching. I am Nick Dorian, and until next time, keep watching the movies.